Welcome once again here on the Regional Radio Sports Network. We welcome you. My name is Paul Condry. I'm the president and founder of Regional Radio Sports. We're here today from Bethel University. We're at the Y Camp Athletic Center. It's Bethel Men's Volleyball Day. Great to have Eric Snyder with us, the second-year head coach of the Pilots. Pilots in their second year as a program. Eric, I know you have to feel excited about because you guys are going to be opening up tonight with a Boo match. Excited about what you guys have been able to start from scratch to be able to win 10 matches in the first year. I think you have to be thrilled at the development as well as the culture that you're trying to create. So I want you to take me back 1 year from now about going into there. So there's so many unknowns, and this is long before all the success that you've had elsewhere at Campbellsville, wherever you've been successful, and now you're starting from scratch. Just talk about some of the journey that you've been on.
Well, it's been exciting, to be honest with you. It's been fun. We ultimately weren't really supposed to start our season last year. We weren't supposed to have a season, but we wouldn't. We kind of dove in head first and tried to bring in some solid players from overseas and from the States, and actually had a really nice first season. We didn't look like a first-year program. We didn't sound or play like a first-year program, and it was pretty exciting. It was a lot of fun. People were telling me, "Hey, why would you pick a program like a startup program?" I said, "It's enjoyable. There's a lot of facets of building a program from scratch that are very attractive." And then heading into this season, we just built on what we had started. We were very lucky and very blessed to bring in a really solid coaching staff. We were fortunate to bring in a lot of great talented guys from overseas and from the States, and we got a lot of attention from last year and a lot of excitement built up, and we just kind of came on top of that. So
I know you don't look at seasons and wins and losses as far as success. It's about culture. It's about creating an everlasting effect, trying to make an impact in the student athletes and the spiritual dynamic. Absolutely. So let's talk about, is it harder starting, if you were to give advice to someone starting from scratch, would you say it's harder to build your culture first versus the athleticism, the technical side of the game itself? Which is the hardest to build?
Yeah, especially for a new program, it's tough to build a culture of camaraderie, and especially nowadays for a lot of coaches that are out there, it's all about me with social media and NIL and all this other stuff. So we've had an overwhelming focus on brotherhood and being blessed and being thankful and being open to being a great teammate more than thinking about yourself. Being selfless and being humble. And if you're constantly promoting that type of environment, and that guys will continue to care about each other more than themselves, and usually that type of culture you can build on. Take the athleticism part of it, and makes it really easy.
Most of the time, people may or may not understand the dynamics of what it's like starting men's volleyball, because men's volleyball, even here inside the Hoosier State, is not a sanctioned IHSAA sport, and it's still kind of its in infancy. So you're having to really kind of rely on overseas talent, and maybe someday the United States will get to the point where they're developing those type of players. But the reality of what it is right now on this current roster, if my numbers were right, you got 9 different countries represented on this current roster.
Yeah, very diverse.
And so you look at not only the diversity that you talk about, but let's talk about bridging that communication gap, because not everybody speaks fluent English. Let's be quite frank with you, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of different languages being spoken on our team, but you could go about it one of two ways. You could say, all right, well, we're gonna stop all the different languages and only speak English, but I don't think that's the way to go. I think that our diversity makes us stronger. It makes us formidable, and we have a lot of guys that can teach others different languages. We have guys that will eventually go back to their home countries and to still get in touch with their teammates and have a place for them to visit in the future. So these are long-lasting relationships that are pretty awesome. And talking about the the growth of boys volleyball in the country right now and in the state of Indiana, it's the number one sport by far that is in growth. We're at like about 40% growth every year for boys volleyball, which is crazy. In the state of Indiana, you have two of the best NCAA Division I programs in Ball State and Purdue Fort Wayne that are in our state. We have former Olympians in the balls, and we have some great volleyball and great athletes in the state of Indiana. So, it'll catch like wildfire. It really will. There's a lot of talent in the Midwest, in the state of Indiana, and it's just the amount of time before boys volleyball just explodes. Programs are adding every year, high school, club, collegiate programs, and we're just happy to be a part of it.
I know for me, having been a person who's done college volleyball for about 15 years as well as some high school, last year was my first year of doing men's college volleyball, and the speed, the raw power of the game is something that's hard to explain. I would make the comparison. It's like going to an NHL hockey game. If you've never been to a hockey game up close within the first 5 to 10 rows and seeing it happen at real-time speed. It's really an amazing sport when you think about it. Do you think people understand the dynamics? And does TV help or hurt in regards to really showing how awesome it is in real person?
In real life, it's once you see it, you kind of you get attached to it.
Oh, yeah.
Drink the Gatorade. The men's game is fast. It's explosive. It's played above the net. Serve and serve receive is gigantic when it comes to the men's game. There's not a lot of long rallies, but it's an exciting game. The women's side is also it's incredibly fun and exciting game as well too. But it's a prettier game. It's long rallies. It's a lot of strategy. It's a lot of defense. With the men, it's powerful. But as soon as if you watch it on TV, say you go watch Hawaii or Pepperdine or some of these Ohio State, these big time programs. You can watch, but you don't get a feel for the speed of the serve or the speed of the attack,
exactly,
or the dig, or you just don't. And we're excited that men's volleyball is on TV so much and it's being streamed live by so many times across the country. But to go to a game, and that's another part of the growth of boys volleyball, is that once you get them out to a game and they see hitting lines, before the game, or they see a big serve, or they see something, usually they're attached. So,
all right. So let's talk about the 23 group that you have here today, as we're going to go into this group 23/24. I'm excited because the way this team played last year in a very, very competitive Wolverine Hoosier Athletic Conference, and I know that you've got some veteran kids back who played together for a whole year. They've spent a year together, and you've got some captains that I think are just oozing with great leadership. I'm going to put it to you that way. So let's talk about approaching year two compared to last year.
We're just deeper. Last year we were very thin. Our top group, our A team was pretty thin, and then it kind of, we had enough guys to compete, but we were missing some of that massive competition during training, during our practices, and we got that. We got that this year with a lot of guys that we brought in, and we're an incredibly deep team. We have returning leadership with Ben, Eric Malik, and Arthur, that understand where the program is and what the potential is and what we're capable of doing. Now, there's a lot of things that need to line up and happen for us to win games and get to the conference tournament and eventually, hopefully win a conference championship and make it to the national tournament. There's a lot of things that have to take place. But from an overarching standpoint, we're deeper, we're stronger. We're more cohesive, and we have guys that are passionate about competing. So, it's fun to see the growth of the program. Not only the growth of the guys, because they've all grown and gotten better, but it's the growth of the program is fun to watch.
Pick one thing from last year that you absolutely want to have this year, and conversely, one thing last year that you saw that you don't want to see this year.
Oh, God, that's a good question. I want a conference championship. Yeah, I want a conference championship. It's something I think this program is, even in the tough conference tournament or conference that we're in, with a lot of really talented teams, Cornerstone, Indiana Tech, Lawrence. These are good teams. We can't take a day off. But I think this team's capable of doing that, and that's one thing that I personally would want, but I want it because these guys put in a lot of work and they deserve it.
Okay, so you made some additions to your coaching staff. I know Dave's back again this year, but let's just talk about the importance of the coaching staff being together. Let's talk about what everybody's role is before we talk about your kids.
Dave is awesome. Dave's a local guy who's been around volleyball for a long time and has connected our program to a lot of local people. And if I've figured out anything over my years of coaching, if you have local support and you have people coming to your games and supporting you and donors, whatever it might be, he knows the game and he can coach really well, but he's connected us with a lot of local people. Then on the other side of that, we brought in Jose. Jose played for me for 4 years. Came from Puerto Rico, played for me at Campbellsville. Can play any position. He's still good at that. Still a talented player, but he's a young, energetic, enthusiastic coach that knows the game really well and wants to be a coach and wants that to be his career path. And if we as a program or myself can help him achieve that goal, that's great. I love it. I mean, he did some really awesome stuff with the women's team this past fall, and it was they loved having him. So we feel the same.
Obviously, we mentioned earlier that you've got 9 different countries represented. I want you to talk about the recruiting 9 different countries. I mean, I go up and down this. You got Christopher is from Cyprus, and you've got a youngster from Liechtenstein, 2 of the smallest countries on the planet, as well as you're all over the place. You're in South America, North America, and Europe and Asia. I mean, how do you put all this together?
Well, it's gotten easier over the years. Technology nowadays, you can jump on WhatsApp or Skype or FaceTime or whatever to do video calls and get to know these guys, and to sell your university and what you have and your culture and your program. So there's plenty of ways to attract and recruit international players now. It used to be a little harder, but nowadays with the technological advancements, it's not as difficult. So Jose, another thing Jose has done really well is got our social media up and running really well. So people from overseas have access to seeing us and seeing us play. And then Luke's done a really nice job with our live streaming. So it's we can get out there and have people pay attention to us. And all my job is just to get them on the phone or get them on the Zoom call and try to sell them a little bit.
You've chosen 3 captains: Arthur Barreto, Eric Malik, and Ben Ritzma. Ben, of course, we're excited about him. Ben did some color commentary for us this year. He was an accomplished soccer player in high school, so we had him help out on some of the broadcasts, so we're excited about that. And let's start with the local guy. I mean, he's the guy who grew up here in Indiana, and anytime you got a guy who's playing multiple sports, you just love his compete level. One of my favorite things about Ben, and I just say this because I noticed, because he's the craziest dude around, is watching him during the men's basketball games. He's across the way from me, leading the Y Camp Blackos and having a great time.
Yeah, he's I thought when he was part of the recruiting process, he's a little bulldog. We love players like that. They're a little smaller, jumps well, talented, skilled player, but smaller. And he's always got something to prove. But he's also a very genuine, faith-driven, good-hearted kid. He's developed into a solid leader and an enjoyable person to be around. He knows that even if he's not one of our top attackers or top defensive players, that he's still going to go after it every day in training, and he's going to lead by example. So he's we saw him at camp. I remember this vividly. He was at our elite camp coming in before his freshman year, on his way into his freshman year, and I looked. I think it was day 2. I was talking to Jose, and I went, "He's going to be a captain." Like I already knew it. He's just that type of personality. So.
All right, Arthur Barreto and Eric Malik, we're going to be talking to them on Media Day along with Ben. Talk about why those guys earned the C on their uniform.
Well, they're two guys that are a little bit older, a little bit more experienced than some of our other guys. They know the game really well. Eric Malik actually transferred from Campbellsville when I came here and took the job, and incredibly trustworthy. I know him, I trust him. He was incredibly hardworking at Campbellsville. Even if he was kind of lower on the depth chart at Campbellsville, he was incredibly hardworking and earned a lot of respect from his teammates, coaches, so on and so forth. And he's very intelligent. He's very well spoken, and he's very calm on the court. Last year he stepped into a setting role when we needed him to. He's a middle/setter, which is something you don't normally see on the court. Arthur is kind of just a freak athlete, so he works hard. He's incredibly athletic, strong, but he's also developed into a leader and someone that the guys look to for a lot of stuff. So he came over from Brazil, and if you know anything about the Brazilian culture, especially with volleyball, it's very intense, very, very intense, and yelling, screaming all the time. And he had to learn to take a step back. When he came here, and he made the adjustment. He made the adjustment into being still a passionate, hardworking student athlete, but to be a more concise, calm, cool, and collected type of leader, and that's one thing he had to do when he came here. So we're pretty lucky to have the three guys that we're in that position.
You also have a half a dozen other guys who were coming in who have played with you last year, but you had 10 new faces, so that you got a whole. It's almost like you got two different teams coming in. Let's talk about balancing all that, and look up and down the roster. The roster's right here in front of you. Who can we expect to see great things from?
Well, our captains, I think that they'll all have a role at some point to our success. I think all the guys on our team will. The saying is, you're as strong as your weakest player. And even our guys that are lowest on the depth chart, I think they'll play a role, and they're all valued for sure. And I told you before, we're way more competitive during training now, so that's a huge benefit for our A team and our B team. But we brought in a setter from Arizona, Mac McGuire. He's done some nice stuff this fall. We're excited about him. We're excited about Sebastian Libro from Columbia. He's going to do some nice stuff. We have two guys that came from Indianapolis, Jack and Nico, that are Indiana guys that will develop over the years into something really nice. Who else? Andre is probably our tallest guy. He's about 6'7", 6'8" on the right side, which we did not have last year. Marcos Enrique's back. Call him Chicken, but he's probably one of our best, most consistent attackers. The two guys that came in from new for this January, Chris and Rafael, one from Brazil, one transfer from Missouri Valley. Chris will help us out and help with our depth. Andy Andrin from Liechtenstein, the smallest country in the world. He's probably one of the best players in the entire country, which the country's smaller than the city of Chicago, but he's really, really good, has a great arm, jumps really well. Ege is moved into a setting role, so I'm really kind of excited to see what he does. Afonso and Tiago from Portugal are two guys, young, athletic, and have a great future ahead of them. Avery was a transfer from Campbellsville. We'll shore up our Libro position. Urosh, probably one of the funniest. Keeps me laughing all the time. He's got a great arm swing, really nice serve with lots of movement. Will help us there. I'm trying to figure out if I'm forgetting anybody, but no, we're deep. We're very, very deep, and we'll continue to get deep next year. We already have, I think it's four or five guys that are verbally committed or signed already for next year, and we'll just keep getting better.
All right, so when you take a look at some exciting things that are on the slate, obviously you've got the Wolverine Hoosier Athletic Conference, where you guys are an associate member. So let's talk about the league as a whole, and let's talk about, I know you guys are excited about your trip to Arizona. That's going to be good. You're going to be taking on some of the top teams in the country, and that's a great barometer for you guys to find out where you guys are at.
Right. Our conference from, there's 10 teams in the conference, with the exception of maybe one or two, but not even now, because those teams are better. You don't get a day off if you're not prepared, if you're not ready to play. And we only get one bid to the national tournament, so whoever wins the conference is going to the national tournament. So it's ultra competitive, and only 6 schools out of our conference make it to the conference tournament. So it's hard. It's not easy. And when we go out to Arizona, we'll play Ottawa and Benedictine Mesa. Benedictine Mesa and Ottawa are at the national tournament every year. I know the programs have competed against them. They're good. They're really, really good. And we'll see very quickly how good we are in conference, but we'll see very quickly how good we are against the top in the country.
All right, so the playing at home and obviously playing in the Goodman Gymnasium / auditorium, as they used to say, it's a very unique environment. I remember doing women's basketball or women's volleyball and basketball for that matter in that gymnasium, and it presents a really, really unique scenario, especially for the fans.
Sure.
Because you're right up on top of everybody. And so let's just talk about the importance of getting the students here on the campus in Mishawaka excited about being involved in this second season of Pilots Volleyball.
Yeah, I mean, playing in that gym, everyone thinks I'm a little bit crazy when I asked and told them I wanted to play in there and kind of revamp things into the old gym, or the upside down boat, as some other coaches like to say. No, it's a competitive advantage. When people walk through the lobby here and they turn right to go into gates, and they're like, we're playing to the left, and I want people to feel that way. I want to, oh man, this is small, it's close knit, it's exciting. I would love to shut the lights off and do introductions in the dark with a spotlight and smoke machine and all that kind of stuff. But I want the environment to be great for not only myself and for the guys, but for the campus community and the local community, because not a lot of people have seen men's volleyball, and if they come out to a game, I want them to be wowed, and I want them to feel it. And playing in that gym in that type of environment is a lot of fun.
Final couple of questions. Let's break this down as I would too in our pregame interviews. Offensively, what are you going to have to do to be successful this year? And defensively, what are you going to have to do to be successful?
Serve and receive.
There you have it.
Honestly, that's the men's game. If we serve really well and you put pressure on teams and you get them out of system, especially the good teams, you have to, and you limit them to 1 or 2 options, you have a chance to be successful. And then if you receive well, and we have 2, 3, 4, 5 different options coming at our opponent, we're going to be really hard to stop. So the men's game is, anyone asks me all the time, what do you got to do well to win? Serve and serve receive.
It's pretty simple, isn't it?
It's pretty much, you got it.
All right, so we've got here right in front of our vantage point here, we've got the schedules. Make sure you can go out online to pick that up. But once again, the True Blue scrimmage is coming up tonight. And the
one that's not on there is the scrimmage against Notre Dame's club team on Thursday night at 7. So we scheduled another game if you want to come out on Thursday night at 7 o'clock playing Notre Dame. So
there you have it. Eric Snyder, the head coach of the Bethel men's volleyball team. Pilots will be in action. Don't forget you can watch those games right here on Regional Radio Sports in conjunction with the Bethel Sports Network. Once again, a special thanks to Eric for joining us here on Media Day. For all of us at Regional Radio Sports, for Tanner Camp and Luke Schrock, I'm Paul Condry. God bless you all. Semper Fidelis. Good night, everyone.